Hey friends, I'm Ada, and I was the first computer programmer ever. I was born on the 10th of December, 1815, in a super rich family in London and lived with my governess, the servants, and a pet cat, Mrs. Puff, in a huge mansion in the countryside. My mom was a very famous social worker and was mostly away, but whenever she'd return home, I'd try my best to make the most of it. Mom, I made this drawing for you. Mom, I learned to ride a unicycle. Isn't it cool? Look, I can walk upside down. It was like everything I did was to impress Mom.
Ada, I don't want you wasting your time in these senseless things. Darling, you are made for greatness. I will have the best tutors in the world for you.
Mom was pretty bent on making me stop wasting my time, so she hired an army of tutors to teach me at home. I was being taught everything, from mathematics to astronomy, from literature to history. I was even learning French and Spanish. But I just couldn't sit through the lessons. They seemed so boring. Every time my teachers would start a topic, I'd want to go out and play, which I wasn't allowed to do because Mom had set all these rules for me to follow, a proper timetable, and even a meal plan. But then I found a way to make it work. I promised my teachers that I'd study if they gave me multiple breaks throughout the day, and they agreed. After every lesson, I'd go out and enjoy the weather, and it made learning fun for me. With the best teachers in all of England, I started to finally like studying, and my curiosity about things just kept growing. I'd lay my eyes on something and wanted to know how it worked. Why does the wind blow? If the earth is spinning, why don't we spin with it? Why aren't we dizzy? Where does the rain come from, and why is the rainbow always an arc? Why is it not a circle? One time, I wrote a poem about rainbows and read it to my mom. I thought I did a pretty good job, but Mom looked royally pissed.
Ada, what is all this? Poetry? I hate it. I am giving you this lavish life, far away from all the worries and troubles of the world, and you waste your time writing poems of all things? I hate poems. I'm going to get you new tutors. Looks like you have too much time to waste.
Saying that, she went to her room where I was never allowed to enter because she always kept it locked. Mom thought I was some dumb kid who couldn't pick a lock and enter her room. As a matter of fact, I had known what she was hiding in that room right from the start. My dad. Actually, pictures of my dad. I had heard the servants often talk about him. My dad was a very famous poet. He was basically the first celebrity of England. He was sort of like a rock star of his time and had a massive fan following. People from far away would come to listen to his poetry, and that didn't sit well with my mom. My mom hated his work, and they'd argue so much that when I was just 2 months old, he moved away and never looked back. Mom didn't want me to be like him, and that was the reason she wanted me to always be super busy with studies. But Mom forgot I was my own person. Yeah, I had started to love science and mathematics, but I also loved something else that I don't think my mom ever experienced: having fun. Like, everyone knows how fun it is to play in the mud and run like crazy in the rain, but for Mom, it was a big no-no. She would constantly be telling me to sit, stand, eat, and even breathe like a proper lady. One time, when I was about 12, we had a party at our place, and Mom made me wear the most uncomfortable dress ever. It was so tight that it just made me wonder how women could breathe in it. As everyone danced and enjoyed themselves, I just wanted to get some fresh air. So I went to the garden, and it was then that I saw it. A nest on a tree. It was about to fall. I quickly got into action and climbed the tree. Thank God Mom wasn't there. But then, out of nowhere, I heard her yell.
Dear God, Ada, what in the world? You are wearing such an expensive dress. Ugh, it's ruined now. I held this party to introduce you to Augustus, the best math teacher in all of Britain, and this is how you behave?
But Mom, the little birdie's nest was about to fall. I had to fix it. This nest was more important than this stupid dress or anyone else.
You see, my lady, why I was refusing to tutor your daughter. Math, science, these are not the fields women should worry about. I suggest you teach her how to cook, clean, and yes, some manners too.
Saying that, the man left, and Mom, wow, she literally went berserk, and I got the lecture of a lifetime. And it was then that it happened. I felt a shooting pain in my head, and then everything turned dark. When I woke up, I was in my bed, and it turned out I had a headache called a migraine. I was put on bed rest for not just 1 or 2 days, but for a whole year. Just in the first week, I felt like I was gonna go crazy from boredom. I had solved tons and tons of puzzles, played all the board games in the house with the servants, read so many books, and I was still bored. But then one day I saw something amazing. The nest that I had saved had chicks. I was so happy. Over the coming weeks, I saw each chick one by one leaving the nest, and it was because of them that I fell in love with flying. I poured my heart into researching how to fly and called the subject flyology. I gathered supplies and even built wings. I so wanted to try them on and see if I could fly. But Mom, she thought it was a waste of time thinking about a machine that could never be made. In reality, if Mom could only see the world now. When I turned 14, Mom introduced me to my new teacher, Mary. She was a mathematics genius, and it was because of her that my love for the field of mathematics just grew. One time when Mary was done with her class, she forgot her advanced math book at my place. Since back in the day we didn't have TV or smartphones, I was just bored, so I started solving the equations. And the next week when Mary visited, she was stunned.
Who helped you? There is no way you did it yourself. This is practically the hardest math question.
Hardest? It was easy peasy. Hearing my answer, Mary went deep into thought, and when she visited me the next week, she had a gentleman with her who looked familiar. It was Augustus, the man who thought women couldn't do math, and now he wanted to be my teacher? But I didn't. I was about to tell him to leave, but couldn't because Mom was going all gaga over him. She really wanted him to be my tutor. So in the end, I agreed, but I made sure to push his buttons every now and then. So, I have a question. It's a math question, very hard.
You asked one silly question just 5 minutes ago. Fine, ask away.
Why can't a nose be 12 inches long?
What kind of question is this?
Because then it would be a foot.
But it was funny.
I guess I needed to cut Augustus some slack. He was a nice guy and taught me everything I needed to know about math. I know I was his favorite student. He never said it himself, but I did find his letters in Mom's drawer one time in which he told Mom that I had the potential to be one of the greatest mathematician minds in the world. One time when I was 17, Mom and I were invited to Mary's house for a ball. She was getting engaged, and to be honest, the party was boring. Like, there was no one I could talk to. All the girls my age wanted to talk about were boys, babies, and baking.
Oh my. Look at your 9 o'clock. No, 3 o'clock. That guy is totally checking you out.
Wave your fan. Say hi to him with your fan.
Sweet lady. You look so pretty tonight. My thoughts about you keep multiplying by 10. I hear you love numbers. So, how about we dance?
Cringe. I need something to eat. I feel like I'll faint if I don't eat something fast. Saying that, I hurried to the food table, and just as I grabbed the last donut, someone else took it. And when I saw who it was, I felt like a deer in the headlights. It was Charles Babbage, a science genius who had been building a giant calculating engine, or as you call it today, a computer. Oh my God, a big fan of your work. I was wondering if you could
dance? No, thank you.
What? No, not dance. I wanted to see your machine. I've heard so much about it. I want to work with you.
Work? With me? That's cute. Please excuse me.
What? Huh? Well, I was determined to see his invention, and when I told Mom, she pulled some strings, and Charles had to finally invite me to a showing of his machine, which was still not complete. The moment I laid my eyes on it, I was in absolute awe. The man was a genius. His machines had like 25,000 parts, and once complete, could perform all types of complex calculations. The man was working on the very first computer, and I wanted to learn from him. It's marvelous. I have never seen anything like this in my whole life. How about you teach me about this marvelous machine, and I can help you make it better?
Oh, wow. You think you can just make it, better? I have spent years and years working on this, and you think you can make it better? No way.
Are you always such a jerk, or do you just show off when I'm around? And by the way, why do you have to repeat the same steps over and over again for a simple addition? Saying that, I turned to leave, but I guess what I said made perfect sense to him, and he stopped me in my tracks.
The repeating steps again and again. It was on my mind, but no one, not even the best scientists, could understand that part. But you did. You really want to learn from me. Help me make this machine better? Fine. I'll have you as an apprentice. But only if you first translate the manual book for the machine from French to English.
OMG, was this really happening?
Oh, yes, it was.
I was pretty glad Mom had me take French classes when I was a kid. It took me 9 months to translate the piles and piles of notes. As I understood his designs more and more, I added my own notes on how to make things better. By the time I was done translating, I had over 30 notebooks. But it was all worth it, because I realized Charles's machine, when finished, could even print, create graphics, play music, all along doing complex calculations. The man had hit the jackpot. But when Charles saw my notes, he looked confused. I was so sure I did everything right. Did he find some mistake? Were my calculations wrong? Did I blow my chances of working with the Charles Babbage? Look, I can do it again.
Do it again? Nonsense. Ada, this is extraordinary. Everything you've written makes so much sense. With you by my side, I am so sure this machine will be a success and even better.
Charles was so happy with my work that he started calling me the magician of numbers. He even got my notes printed and distributed to all the mathematicians and scientists in England. It was incredible. Just like Charles, I didn't go to school, college, or university, and here I was, standing shoulder to shoulder with the greatest minds of all time. After that, there was no stopping me. I officially started working with Charles, and he not only became my mentor, but also my best friend. Soon, we decided to make a new machine called the Analytical Engine. While working with Charles, I developed the first algorithm ever. It could calculate advanced algebra equations. Together with my algorithm and Charles's machine, we were creating the world's first mechanical computer. A few years later, I got married and had 3 children, but I still worked with Charles, even from home. Every day I'd write letters to him since he lived nearby. We were exchanging letters like 6 times a day. It was totally like texting. One day I was home with my kids when I got the worst news ever. Mom was sick, so I visited her. I stayed with Mom for a week, and it was during those days that I told her about what I had been working on. I wasn't expecting it, but Mom, she looked so happy, and then she said the most amazing thing ever, something I never thought I'd hear her say.
You make me feel so proud every day with your courage, kindness, and hard work. Ada dear, I am sorry for being tough on you when you were a kid. I came from a family where women weren't allowed to study, and I wanted you to have every opportunity to be educated. Ever since you were a kid, I knew you could do far better than your dad or me, and I am so happy I was right.
Mom, everything I am today, it's because of you. I love you. Once I returned from Mom's place, I got back to work, but then our big project came to a stop when Charles was out of money to build. He asked me to visit Queen Victoria and ask her to fund our project, but how could I? The woman basically hated me. Yeah, I had beef with the Queen after I stepped on her gown at a party and didn't recognize her. Oh God, this was gonna be so hard, but I had to do it. For Charles. I went to see the Queen and explained everything to her. I wasn't expecting it, but she agreed to help me. I was ecstatic, and when I broke the news to Charles, he was thrilled.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Ada, how can I ever repay the favor?
How about you make me the CEO of Babbage's machine?
CEO? You can be chairman, president, anything you want, because it's a fact, Ada. With your code, this machine will reach new heights.
I was coding computer programs before there were even computers and before it was cool. 100 years later, the work I did with Charles was finally recognized and became the basis for the invention of the first modern computer and the basis for the machine you are watching me on right now. In the late 1970s, the United States Army created a programming language called Ada to honor my work in the programming field. Every year, on the second Tuesday of October, people around the world celebrate women who work in STEM on Ada Lovelace Day, so don't forget to celebrate it next year. Ada would love that, don't you think?